I guess I was in my third year at senior school when I realized the advantages of truancy. You see, ever since I started senior school I'd been bullied and picked on by a couple of boys in my class, one in particular, but he'd influenced some of the others to join his cause and make my life a misery. I figured if I wasn't there, they couldn't get me, so I began skipping the odd day here and there. Usually I'd skip the days which I shared classes with those I needed to avoid the most. First I'd take a day off every month or so. That soon became 2 or 3 days off every month. And by the time I was halfway through my 5th and final year, I was taking at least 1 day off each week. Today, my year tutor had some serious words for me. She explained that due to my constant truancy, I was throwing away my most important school years, and with them my future. I knew she was over-exaggerating the situation as I was fully aware that once I'd left school I'd be able to study my GCSEs at the local college without any hassle from the bullies. Yeah, it'd take me a couple more years to get them, but at 15 years old, there's plenty of life ahead of me. I never explained my reasoning to my year tutor. I never used bullying as an excuse for my truancy. I just nicked off one day and turned up the next with little or no explanation. My year tutor informed me that a letter had been sent home to my mother, and that I was possibly facing a suspension or expulsion. Both sounded good to me. I wasn't looking forward to going home though. Mother and I usually got on well, but Mother had no idea, until now, that I was truanting from school. I guess that nugget of information will change things somewhat. "In here, young man," Mother hollered the second I entered. I did as I was asked and entered the study where my mother sat at her desk, holding what I assumed was the letter from the school. I hung my head as she blurted out the usual "You're wasting your education and your exams are right around the corner." I stood silently as she went on, and on, and on, offering the odd "I dunno" in response to her questions. The truth is, I was ashamed to admit that I couldn't stand up to the bullies. I was ashamed to admit that was being bullied in the first place. So no explanation from me seemed a better option than the real explanation. "We have a meeting with your year tutor on Friday morning where your future at Central Comprehensive will be discussed. I expect you to have a long hard think between now and then, young man." The meeting with my year tutor and my mother didn't go well. I'd skipped school the previous day, and as a result of this, my tutor explained to my mother that they had no option but to exclude me permanently. I was asked to wait outside whilst my mother and my tutor discussed my options for the remainder of my final academic year. When Mother left the office she had a face like thunder. I said nothing on the way home, trying to avoid her wrath for a long a time as possible. As we entered our home, Mother said, "You young man are grounded until further notice." I tried to protest, but Mother was having none of it. "Do you realize that the chances of another school taking you in with your record and at this time of year are virtually none?" I hung my head trying to look ashamed with myself. The reality is, this was great news, no more school, ever. Which means I'm going to have to find a private tutor to teach you at home, which will cost me a small fortune. I didn't try to push Mother with any smart remarks, but I suppose I was pleased with the outcome, apart from being grounded, that is. However, I knew I'd be able to sneak out and hang with my friends when Mother wasn't around. What can she do? Put me under house arrest? I think not.